Coming up, I have an interview with the one and only, the answer to your prayers, Ariela Nyx. So sit back. I promise you'll enjoy this one. It's time for Wrestling for the Culture, where we take a look inside to see what the wrestlers of color have been doing this week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to finally get this interview done with the one and only, the answer to your prayers, the one and only Miss Ariela Nyx. Ariela, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good. So, I'm happy we're finally able to get this interview done. Unfortunately, we're in the midst of a pandemic, COVID-19. So it's kind of slowing everybody down per se. How are you doing? I know you up in the New York City area. It hit differently than it is here in Baltimore. So how are you doing?
Fortunately, I'm doing okay. Have no health issues, thank God. Working from home with a regular job, so I don't have to really be out. I try to go out for like a walk just to get some cardio in since the gyms are closed and everything else. And it's pretty quiet outside. Went to the store a couple of times to get things, and it's like there's people there, but it's definitely not as crowded as it usually is. So you can definitely see the difference, and scary to think about. Who knows how long this is going to last for?
Yeah, I work in medicine on my day job is in communications, and one of the things that they told us the other day, they said it's going to be months, and I mean, people have been asking me, "Hey, do you have any exclusive information?" I was like, "I wish, I don't,"
Right.
But we're here to talk wrestling, so let's talk the fun stuff. First, I got to ask you, how long you been in the business?
About 5.5 years. I started training like the beginning of 2014. Worked as a manager my first 2 years, took a break, and then came back. Actually started like being like a full-time wrestler, and so yeah, about 5.5, almost 6 now.
Would you say being a manager helped you in ring? Did you get to see things that like differently, and did that help you prepare as opposed to somebody just jumping into the ring?
Definitely. Between getting used to working in front of a crowd, learning just the experience of being in the ring, even if I wasn't doing like the wrestling part of it. But yeah, it definitely helped me a lot, I would say.
Okay, and one of the things I noticed about you is when watching your clips, like one of our good friends, Chrissy Rivera, shout out to her. You
Yeah, I
two
love
are
Chrissy.
generally nice people, but you guys can get real mean to the crowd.
Hey, I gotta do a job, man. I gotta make the crowd hate me. That's what I'm there to do.
Now, um, when did you decide like wrestling was for you? What was the moment where you decide, hey, this is what I want to do?
um, I guess it was actually like I grew up watching wrestling, like mostly watching WWE. Then maybe like in the late like 2010s, early 2010s, I should say, started going to like independent shows just to see like the difference and broaden my wrestling horizon. And that's when I started getting the itch, like, oh, like I kind of want to do this. Like this is cool. Like I never thought I'd want to do it, like because most people growing up watching wrestling wanted to do it. I was never that person, but I guess going to more shows live made me have that itch.
Do you remember perhaps what match it was or what promotion you went to that made you decide you wanted to wrestle?
Um, I would say one of them would have to be FWE. I went to a couple of their shows and just seeing like they had like a lot of the top indie guys at that time and just seeing them and getting to meet them and stuff. I was like, this is it. I was like, I want to get into it somehow, even if like I don't wrestle, maybe I just manage. I don't know. But it was probably going to one of those shows that like helped start it.
Now, once you did that, did you like start going home and looking at documentaries differently to kind of help you get ready for the business, or what did you do to start preparing yourself to enter the business?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I guess like I watched wrestling all the time, so I mean that's wasn't anything new to me, but just watching it differently, like watching people's mannerisms and the way they told a story, things that like maybe I didn't notice before, like just watching as a casual fan. So just trying to pick up on little things and especially now when you're looking like at Raw or like any other TV, like how it's different compared to watching it live. So learning how to work for a camera and things like that. So I was like, oh, this is all different. And picked up things like I said I never noticed as a fan.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So, what was your first match and who was it against?
My first match was against Deanna Perrazzo down in Delaware.
Oh, okay. And shout out to Deanna. I had an opportunity to work with her at WSU. We're gonna definitely get into that later. Um, now, can you talk about the nerves getting ready? Like now, you're ready, get get into the ring. Can you talk about that?
Oh, I'm always super nervous. Like I have to get in the ring and like the bell has to ring for me to kind of calm down. Like, I try to have like the sass and the attitude to like hide the nerves, but I'm always there. It's a good nervous though. It's exciting. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually gonna wrestle. Like, even though I've done it a few times now, I'm like, this is happening. Wow. Like, I just want to make sure everything goes well and things like that.
Yeah. Now, one thing about professional wrestling, especially on the indie scene, once you do this for a while, you start getting a little recognition from like fans when you go to the store or fans when you go into places. You talk about like what it meant to you to be, essentially be a name and be that person people look up to.
It's still mind blowing to me. I'm like, huh, me? Like you're a fan of mine? And like even like a little while before like we got on this call, I was like getting like 8x10s together, like merch that fans have bought to go mail out this week. And I'm just like, wow, like these people want to spend money to support me. Like that's crazy to me. I'm like, I'm a nobody.
No, come on now. My Angela told us you are somebody. Now, the one thing you always say is the answer to your prayers. When did you coin that phrase? Can you talk about how that came about?
um, well, actually, when I was trying to decide on my wrestling name, I had originally, instead of Ariela, wanted to go with Alana, but then Lana and Rusev blew up. So I was like, that sounds too much like her. I want something different. So I was like, I like the A name, like, something starting with the A. So I was just looking up different names and I forget the name that popped up, but I didn't like the name, but it meant answered prayer. And I was like, the answer to your prayers. I was like, I like how that sounds. I was like, sounds cocky. And I was like, my character is going to have some cockiness to her. So I was like, I like it. I was like, I haven't heard anybody else use it, so I'm just gonna run with it.
Yeah. Now, I remember about last year, I think it was, at one point you held three titles at once. You held the Capital Wrestling Women's title, the VPW Women's title, and Pro Wrestling Magic Women's Championship. Can you talk about what holding those titles meant, and especially having the trust from these companies to carry their championship?
It meant a lot to me. Knowing that they felt I was worthy enough to like represent their name and their brand, especially like with Capital, because I was their first women's champion and I held it for 490 days. Marcus will make sure I have to get that number right. But yeah, like just to know that they're like, hey, we like her, we feel like she's a good representation to our company. So that will always mean something to me.
Yeah, and how do you, I guess, like, how do you keep your cool a lot of times? Because, if you being a champion somewhere and you go out into the street on the shoot, somebody want to act crazy, or social media especially, like you have to like think twice, don't you, when that stuff come up?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough that I haven't really dealt with too many situations like that. But, you try to watch what you say and, just try not to let the negativity get to you.
Yeah, and what type of advice would you give to people who are coming up in the business?
Just stay at it. It's not easy. It's never really going to be easy. Don't let anyone, like try to take your shine or anything like that. Just stay focused and, no matter what, if this is your dream, just keep going. Everybody has good days, bad days, and, definitely takes a lot out of you, but it's all worth it in the end.
Yeah, who's been some of your mentors?
Um, well, okay, let's see. When I first started out, definitely Red and Brian training at House of Glory, like they really helped me out a lot when I first started. Now I'm just so grateful for Kurt and Pat at Creative Pro. Like they've helped me a lot in this past year. They've really helped me grow, helped me get a lot of opportunities doing like extra work with WWE and things like that. So grateful for them as well.
And can you talk about what it meant to be able to do that? Like, especially, excuse me, I know I popped when I went to watch, Raw and SmackDown. I saw you on there. I popped. Like, can you talk about what it meant when you saw, like, going back and looking at it, or just the flood of love you got from, your friends and family?
Yeah, it was great. Like the first one I did, we didn't get used was Evolution. So like to experience that first women's pay-per-view, which happened to fall on my birthday, so it was like the best birthday gift ever, and just getting to see backstage, and they're pretty cool. Like as long as you're not in the way or acting crazy, like they let you walk around the locker, like not the necessarily the locker, but just the whole backstage area. You're pretty much free to kind of do what you want. You can sit in catering, like you see all the wrestlers and stuff. You're just like wow, and like especially that I work in TV. So it's like getting to see like that production side too was very cool for me. And, just being a fan, like a kid growing up watching WWE and just getting to see it all come together. And then, like you said, when I got to actually be like part of the conga line, which, a lot of people have done, but it's like, it's cool. Like, oh my God, or like I was actually on WWE TV. So it's something I never thought I would get to do. It's
Now,
pretty cool.
now, when you back there, do you get an opportunity to pick their brains about different things?
Sometimes, yeah, like I got to have conversations with various people, but sometimes they're all getting ready for a show too, so you're not gonna just go like and try to bother them, like, hey, you try to get ready for a match, but can I like pick your brain? But if you could catch people on the right time, where either if they're like if they're on early or if they're just hanging out and catering, everybody's been pretty cool. Like it seemed like like the vibe backstage is pretty cool, which surprised me. I thought more people would just kind of be to themselves. But even if you're walking around, everybody's just like, hey, how are you? Hey, I'm like, oh, I say hi to me.
Now, when you were there, were there anybody you had worked with previously who were on that show?
Yeah, it was a few students from like Creative Pro. It was usually a group of us that go in, and like there was some other girls that were there from like different promotions. I know a few times I was there with like Faye Jackson. Everybody knows Faye. Faye is Bay, of course. But like it's usually a group of people. So you do recognize some people, if not everybody.
Oh, okay. So then you talked about like just getting to see the production side. How hard was it for you not to like get caught up in, marking out on that part? Because, it's one thing to see the wrestling side, but being a producer, you get to see that side of things. Like,
Yeah, it
how
was pretty cool. Like you said, it's just like
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, like it is like you said, you just try not to mark out because you try to be there and be a professional. But it's like, oh my God, seeing that side and seeing it all together was just still amazing. Like even I've been there a few times now, but every time I'm still like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, this is so cool.
And can you just talk about like what it means to be, like I said, we talked about the titles you held, but not only is there a lot of trust as you being a woman, but a woman of color. And can you talk about like, some of the highs and lows you had in the business?
um, I don't know. I mean, I guess like I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like I've been very lucky. I don't think I've really been too judged by being a woman of color. I would say. I don't know. Um, I mean, a lot of shows sometimes you see it's just like a very male dominated, and so sometimes it's harder to get opportunities just because a lot of places are only booking men, or if they book, they want to book one woman's match or um things like that. But I think for the most part, I've been, for just not to deal with any type of negative from that type, like or that stereotype type of thing. I don't know.
Well, that's good. I'm certainly happy to hear that. It's always refreshing when you hear stuff like that, that you don't have to deal with too much negativity. Unfortunately, WrestleMania weekend won't take place the way that we know it. But, obviously once COVID-19, the pandemic is over, where are some places that you're looking forward to working?
Um, I just want to like that was my goal of this year, just to really expand and work like new places, new states, try to like travel as much as I can. So now, I mean, with everything up in the air, like who knows when we'll get back to um back to normal and getting where I wanted to be. And just like now I feel like all of us in a way are gonna kind of have to start over, because it's kind of like a fresh start. Like everybody's gonna have to like somewhat make a name for themselves again, I think. But just hopefully just like I was fortunate enough to have like a booking almost every weekend, and I just hope I can get at least back to that. And just like I said, add new promotions, new states, just keep it going once everything gets back to normal.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when you just thinking about during this time, what are some things you're doing to kind of like reset and rejuvenate?
just really should try to like now that I like since schedule's a lot more open, trying to focus back on the workouts and between either trying to get a jog every day or like looking at different videos, just try to keep myself in shape and just so that way you don't have like when you get back to it, it's not like, oh, I don't feel good, trying to watch what I eat and stuff too, even though that's hard when you're just sitting home all day, you just want to pig out. But so yeah, just trying to focus more like on the working out. And it's nice. I've been able to do some sort of workout every day, which, has been like good for me. So I'm just trying to keep that focus right now.
Yeah, well, that's definitely good. I'm glad to hear that. So before I get you out of here, because I know you want to get back to relaxing, so I definitely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a little rapid fire.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have a few questions. Then I'm gonna switch it up to TV, couple TV shows, but we'll get to
Okay.
those first. We'll do the wrestling part. So, favorite wrestler of all time,
Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, and your favorite era of wrestling.
I guess like the early 90s, like going into the Attitude Era, that's really when I got into wrestling.
All HPK fans love the New Generation era.
Yeah, I mean, it was his era.
I think y'all most people, if they say, and they would say Attitude Era, then you like, okay, their favorite wrestler could be anybody. But if they say New Generation Era, it's Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
and I'm a
that's
Bret.
true.
I'm a Bret fan, but
see, I love Bret too. Like, I hate that it's like you only like one. I'm like, no, I loved both. I mean, of course, like Shawn was always be my favorite, but I loved Bret too. Like they were both like phenomenal.
yeah, exactly. But it's just like one of those things. Like Bret fans, we like the Attitude Era. We love the New Generation era. But if you find a diehard Shawn Michaels fan, it's New Generation all day.
It's true.
All right. So you get to have a match. It's your dream match. Who's your opponent at either WrestleMania or Wrestle Kingdom? Which one is it? And who's the opponent?
Well, I guess probably WrestleMania since I grew up as a WWE girl. Even though WWE doesn't usually do intergender, if I had to choose anybody, it would be Daniel Bryan.
Oh, okay. See, now that's my guy right there.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, and I've never thought anybody would pass Hogan for me, Hogan and Bret. But I mean, DB is something special.
Yeah, DB is the man.
All right, so now this is be two people. I'm gonna select. You choose which one. I already know. You said earlier, Shawn over Bret. Even though it's still Shawn. So we'll move on. Flair or Hogan?
Flair.
Okay. Rock or Austin?
Austin.
Cena or Orton?
Orton.
All right. Trish or Lita?
Trish.
AJ Lee or Paige?
AJ Lee.
All right. Charlotte or Becky?
Charlotte.
And Sasha or Bailey?
Sasha.
And last but not least, Naomi or Bianca Belair?
Bianca.
All right. So, you and I, become friends, and not just wrestling, but it's been because of these two shows, that's Power and How to Get Away with Murder. So I'm going to put
you got to make me choose between those two?
Not to make you choose between the two shows. Instead, I'm going to take characters.
Okay.
So I'll start with Tasha or Annalise.
Annalise.
Okay. Ghost or Wes?
Wes.
Asher or Tyreek?
Oh, we know I hate Tyreek, so anybody can be Tyreek.
And last but not least, Tommy or Frank?
Oh, that's hard, but Tommy, Tommy's my man. I love me some Frank too, but Tommy is bae. Oh.
Yeah, I had to choose, one or the other. I knew you loved both of them. So.
Yeah.
Well, Ariela Nyx, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to come on this episode of Wrestling for the Culture. Can you let the people know where they can find you?
I have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ariela Nyx.
Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you follow her. Check out her matches. She is indeed the answer to your prayers. Until the next time, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.